A New Year's Day earthquake in California.
New video of a strong earthquake hitting Northern California yesterday morning.
5.4 magnitude quake hit near the community of Rio Dell this morning. That's the same area that was hit by that magnitude 6.4 quake just 12 days ago.
Now, no reports of any major damage or injuries right now, but there were some power outages. The same area was hit with a strong quake last month. A 6.4 magnitude quake struck Rio Dell.
This is the second earthquake to strike the region in less than 3 weeks. The last one happened on December 20th. In that one, 2 people were killed. Meanwhile, heavy rain washed out the area. Take a look at this video.
Tonight, a state of emergency in California where tens of millions are under flood and wind alerts as yet another major storm, a bomb cyclone, as forecasters describe it, threatens the state.
By daylight, the sheer magnitude of the storm's destruction across California became clear. Tidal surges.
This is probably up there with 19, some of the storms 20, 30 years ago with the amount of trees down.
Which received the equivalent of 1 month's worth of rainfall in less than 24 hours.
Now in a state of emergency, this is exactly what California is bracing for. The brunt of a new winter storm forecasted to be potentially more powerful than the system that triggered daring rescues, widespread flooding, and washed out roads.
This satellite imagery shows the enormity of the storm as it slammed into the western U.S., blanketing California, the latest in a series of back-to-back atmospheric rivers. Hurricane-force wind gusts blowing the canopy off this gas station just south of San Francisco.
And because California was just crushed by a storm a few days ago, even a few inches of rain could be catastrophic.
This is an extreme weather event, and we're moving from extreme drought to extreme flood.
A storm system powerful enough to strand drivers, trigger landslides, and swallow roads again.
More than 5 inches of rain in total fell, setting a new daily record for the city of San Francisco.
But in this case, we're talking about California experiencing historic droughts. Despite all this devastation, is the rain helping?
This is near the same area that's recovering from a 6.4 magnitude quake that killed 2 people last month.
The epicenter about 200 miles north of San Francisco.
As we felt here, there's been over 50 aftershocks since the initial 6.4 earthquake.
A strong earthquake rattling people out of bed there in the middle of the night. The 6.4 magnitude quake hitting just after 2:30 a.m. local time. The epicenter, as you can see here, just off the coast, about 8 miles west of Ferndale, California. Some video on social media shows shelves and furniture falling to the ground.
Also, more than 30 aftershocks were felt soon after, including a 4.6. Now, this happened about 200 miles north of San Francisco.
Things that woke you up this morning. How about the magnitude 3.6 earthquake that struck in El Cerrito north of Berkeley?
We don't have any reports of damage from this, but a lot of people got woken up by this, especially if you were anywhere over here and if you live over there, you are right on the Hayward Fault. And just in the last 2 years, we talked about another earthquake centered in El Cerrito about the same intensity. So these have been fairly common and expected.
Devin Feely spoke with one man who caught the quake on camera.
It was a very strong and sudden jolt, abrupt.
The security cameras at Andrew Shalaby's El Cerrito home captured the quake, which rattled the refrigerator and cabinets in the kitchen and shook the Christmas tree and ornaments in the living room.
I didn't know what happened. It felt like a bomb went off. Everything shook. Not like a rolling earthquake that starts kind of gradual and rolls. This just was abrupt instantly, and it felt a whole lot stronger than a 3.6.
A mega tsunami, as recreated by the National Tsunami Warning Center.
In 1700 AD, there was one on the same scale and size as that Japan earthquake in 2011 or the one in the Indian Ocean a few years before that.
There's the potential to have much, much larger earthquakes.
UC Santa Barbara's professor Alex Sims researches ancient earthquakes and tsunamis based on ground-penetrating radar and drilled core examinations.
From that, we know that, about about every 300 to 500 years is when one of these really big earthquakes happens.
It's now been over 500 years since a North Coast megaquake wrought both massive ground destruction and giant tsunamis.
100 feet is entirely plausible, more or less, in given local regions, depending on kind of the local details. Many of our coastal communities are certainly at risk of dozens of feet of water.
In the past 90 years, there have been at least 40 other earthquakes of magnitude 6 or larger, 6 of which were magnitude 7 or larger, all within 150 miles of Tuesday's event. So, if it sounds as though the North Coast is sitting on top of a geological time bomb, the comparison is a fair one.
A recent study suggests the Golden State must also prepare for a large flood event. For more on this, here's Stephanie Sy.
Scientists call it a mega flood or mega storm. 30 days of continuous moderate to severe rain and snow covering wide swaths of land. They haven't had one of these in California since 1862. But a new study says climate change is increasing the likelihood of another one hitting the state. The study authors say Californians could expect a month-long series of storms. Danielle, I grew up in California, and we've been preparing for the so-called big one, referring to earthquakes, since I was a kid. Put into context how much Californians should worry about this and prepare for it.
Well, coincidentally enough, one of the terms for a modern mega flood in California is California's, quote, other big one, literally the other kind of major disaster.